The reward for your practice is peacefulness. Nothing is more valuable or more blissful. External peace is easily obtained. You can stay alone at home and get it. You can easily gain verbal peace by refraining from being talkative. And only speak when necessary. But inner peace is the hardest, because the mind is quick. It runs all day and night. It clings to one object and moves to the next quickly. It is endlessly hectic. So, practicing for a peaceful mind is not easy. The mind has many stimuli. First, try to reduce external stimuli. Pay less attention to visions, sounds, smells, tastes, and touches. These worldly things are endless. The more you get involved with them, the more restless your mind becomes. Like, if you see someone wealthier enjoying pleasures, your mind will compare your life and theirs, and the mind will be restless. The first step to attain peacefulness is to be vigilant of the senses. Being vigilant means being attentive and mindful. When eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, or the mind sense an object, be mindful. If you are not vigilant, the mind will crave to see, hear, smell, taste, or touch some object. The mind will then be restless. If you want inner peace, minimize interaction with the outside world. Dealing with many people is hectic. Everyone wants something different. We do not need many friends. We only need good ones. Having one or two truly good friends is enough. Having many friends is chaotic. Everyone wants you to do something different. Choose your friends carefully. Pick the ones who encourage you to practice and seek inner peacefulness. Do not indulge yourself in visions, sounds, smells, tastes, and touches. They do not last. New visions are impermanent, and so are sounds, smells, tastes, and touches. Do not be lured by them. They are endless. The mind will crave seeing new visions, hearing new sounds, smelling and tasting new things, or seeking new touches. This craving will constantly persist in your mind. So, interact with other people only as needed. Give as much time as possible to take care of your own mind. If you minimize social contact, external senses do not have to work hard. But if you need to interact with people, be vigilant, meaning when the mind sees something, and the mind becomes happy, unhappy, wholesome, or unwholesome, know so. When the mind comes into contact with external objects, observe the mind. After contact, if happiness arises, know so. If unhappiness arises, know so. Know so when wholesomeness, unwholesomeness, or the struggling of the mind arises. This will reduce the impact that external contacts have on your mind. Usually, when there is contact, perturbation or shakiness will happen. This is unavoidable. When eyes see visions, the mind is shaken. This also happens when ears hear sounds. But if you are vigilant and mindful of the contact between senses and objects, this perturbation is lessened. Some peacefulness will arise. This is peacefulness attained by mindfulness. Mindfulness knows when there is contact between your senses and external objects, and shakiness arises. Where do you feel this shakiness? Right in the middle of the chest, not anywhere else. When the mind gets shaken, the mind becomes happy, sad, wholesome, or unwholesome. The mind then further fabricates other things. So, be mindful of this contact. See the changes that are occurring. If you do, perturbation will not be strong. If you are not vigilant and mindful, when your senses come into contact with an object, strong perturbation occurs. The mind will be unhappy and unpeaceful. When you first get started, minimize contact with other people. If it is not possible, do so with mindfulness, knowing the contact at the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and the mind. If you are thinking of someone, have mindfulness. Mindfulness prevents this shakiness. When I say minimize contact with other people, I mean minimize these sensual contacts, but if doing so is not possible, reduce the perturbation by having mindfulness. Your mind will eventually be happier and more peaceful. This is peacefulness attained by mindfulness. You first gain peacefulness with the act of solitariness. If you need to interact, be mindful. Another type of peacefulness is attained by concentration. Peacefulness that arises from samadhi is also blissful. Most people only know happiness that arises from contacts between external senses and objects. Their minds are perturbed. When the contact is between a sense and a pleasurable object, happiness arises. Contact with unpleasurable objects brings unhappiness. This is how they seek happiness, but there are other ways to attain peacefulness of the mind. Besides avoiding contact, being mindful lessens this shakiness. Practicing concentration makes the mind more still. This is beyond minimizing perturbation. It makes the mind still. Every way to practice samadhi shares the same principles. You pick the way that you are skillful at. Observing breathing is not superior to silently reciting Buddha, nor is it any better than observing your belly expanding and contracting. It depends on your temperament and skill. Whichever practice object suits you, pick that one as a home base. This home base is called Viharadharma. It is a residence for the mind. A good home is where the mind is happy to reside. If the mind is unhappy at the home base, the struggling will worsen. That is why some people breathe heavily. And find that their minds are even more diffused instead of being peaceful. So, the art of practicing calmness is knowing which object to choose. Pick the one that makes you happy. For me, silently reciting Buddha when breathing in and Do when breathing out makes me happy. It may not be suitable for you. If observing breathing makes you tense, you need to observe yourself. I cannot coach individually, as there are too many people. So, I teach the principles instead. See which practice object makes you happy. If silently reciting Buddha or observing breathing makes you happy, use it. If observing belly expanding and contracting works, use it. The same applies for walking. Making hand movements like Luang Por Tian. Contemplating the body as dirty and undesirable. Or reminding yourself of your own or everyone else's eventual death. Many people you know have already passed away. You yourself will also die one day. Some people attain happiness and peacefulness when considering death this way. Being happy in one practice object is the key to quickly attain a calm, peaceful mind with concentration. This is so because happiness is the immediate cause of samadhi. You need to observe yourself, not others. Seeing me attaining peacefulness with breathing and reciting Buddha and trying to imitate my practice is not the way. Everyone has their own way. Observe the home base object that makes you happy. Some people find observing their belly expanding and contracting happy. Some are happy with observing hand movements. Some are happy doing housework. Some are happy knitting. These can all be your home base for samadhi. But do not pick an object that is unwholesome or conducive to unwholesomeness that will not lead you to peacefulness. An example is trading stocks or cryptocurrencies. I do not really know about this crypto stuff. But if you spend all day trading and say your mind is focused on a single object, seeing only prices moving up and down, you will not be peaceful. It is too conducive to unwholesomeness. If profits rise, you become happy. If profits drop, you become unhappy. The mind gets even more disturbed. The same is true if you like to play cards, mobile games, or video games all day. And say that your mind has only one object, which is the game. When playing the games, the mind fluctuates heavily. It is conducive to unwholesomeness. You cannot use this kind of object for practice. The object must make you happy and not induce more unwholesomeness. Cause existing unwholesomeness to get stronger. or weaken existing wholesomeness. Playing these games leads to mindlessness. Existing wholesomeness will diminish. Avoid it. Pick an object that makes you happy and does not induce unwholesomeness. Some like to observe body parts, like hair, body hair, nails, teeth, and skin, and attain happiness. If you are like that, do so. It is not inducing unwholesomeness. You can remind yourself of the Buddha. Considering a topic of Dharma can lead to a refreshed and delighted mind. You can attain happiness that way. Observe yourself. Some can only chant. Chanting is having the mind immersed in one object. Chanting does not induce unwholesomeness. Keep chanting, and if you are happy to do so, the mind will attain peacefulness. So the trick for quickly attaining peacefulness is choosing the object that the mind is happy to be with. And that object must not induce unwholesomeness. Everyone has their own way. Look at the 40 objects of meditation. These objects are for calmness practice. Some like to observe fire. Light a candle, observe the fire, and attain happiness. The mind is one and peaceful with the fire. It does not wander off. This is totality practice. Or you can sit comfortably under a tree and observe the leaves being blown by the wind. See the leaves twist and turn. It is good if you can observe a Bodhi tree. A big Bodhi tree has many leaves. When the wind blows, the leaves' movements are beautiful. If your mind likes them, peacefulness will arise. It arises because of happiness. Bodhi leaves in nature are beautiful. See them. Why do the Bodhi leaves twist and turn? Because the wind is blowing. This is how you practice wind as a meditation object. You cannot observe the wind directly, so you look at its effect on the leaves. The movements occurred from the wind element. The earth element is firm. Having less earth elements makes things softer. The water element is the one that permeates and attracts things together. The water surface tension is the result of this attraction. The water element both permeates and attracts. The wind element is tight and moving. When the wind blows, leaves move. If there is a lot of wind in your belly, the belly feels tight. The fire element is the temperature. The characteristics of the elements are coldness, hotness, softness, firmness, tightness, and movement. The elements can be used to practice totality. Wisdom development from elements is also possible, but I am talking about totality in the samadhi aspect. You can also use them for wisdom development. A practice object that is based on your body or your mind can be used for both calmness and insight practice. But if that object is not of the body or mind, you cannot use it for insight practice. If you see the wind making the leaves move, you see that the wind is not static. This is an external object. For an internal object, you can see the wind constantly changing direction in and out of your nose. If you do a sitting meditation and want to practice wind totality, you do not need to look for leaves to observe. You can observe the wind. at the tip of your nose. See wind flowing in and out of your body. Know that wind. Eventually, the object will turn into light. All 10 totality objects will eventually turn into light. So, if you are skillful at one totality, the other 9 will not be hard for you. Because the end result is the same. The light. It will be bright. This is for someone who is really skillful. If you are not, do not worry. Keep chanting. Contemplating death. Seeing the body as dirty and undesirable. Or contemplating the Buddhas, Dhammas, and Sanghas virtues is sufficient. Like, if you think of your master, your mind will be happy and peaceful. Before I got ordained, sometimes my mind was restless. Doing a sitting meditation for peacefulness was difficult, so I thought about my masters like Luang Pu Dun, Luang Pu Ted, and Luang Pu Sim. When I thought of them, my mind became happy. My masters were happy, peaceful, and blissful. Some were 90 or older, but they were still very bright. Unlike other worldly people who were tainted, when I thought about my masters who have practiced well, my mind became happy. When the mind becomes happy, samadhi arises immediately. For calmness practice, if you know how to choose a suitable practice object, it is not difficult. You choose an object that makes you happy, and not inducing unwholesomeness. There is another trick. Know that object with a natural mind. This is important. You can pick a practice object like breathing in while silently reciting Bud and breathing out with Do. You know that this is suitable for you, but when you start practicing, you overfocus and fixate on it. When will you be peaceful? Your mind craves peacefulness, but it gets diffused instead. You then get angry and abhor the diffusion. You love peacefulness, but after a long practice, you do not have it. This is so because the mind was unnatural. The mind was full of craving and fury. Craving creates this agitation. So the mind is struggling and full of unhappiness. Even though you picked the right practice object, you did not observe it peacefully. So, happiness did not arise. Stress rose instead. Like, if you observe the breathing while repeatedly thinking of when you will be peaceful, you will not be. But there are exceptions. Some people keep craving for happiness and endure practicing until a point where the mind becomes very tired. After much tiredness, the mind gives up and lets go of the craving. Once craving disappears, the mind enters absorption and attains peacefulness. So, the mind only enters absorption and attains peacefulness when it is comfortable, as long as it is stressful and full of cravings. Peacefulness will not arise, because these two things keep agitating the mind. The mind will keep struggling and will not be peaceful. So, we must know the technique. For practicing calmness, choose the object that makes you happy. The object must also not induce unwholesomeness. When you observe the object, do it naturally with a natural mind. Like, see the body breathing comfortably without trying to make yourself comfortable. Some people hear me talking about know comfortably and fabricate a sweet, loving mind. That is unacceptable. Know naturally without adjusting your mind. And disregard both peacefulness and diffusion. If you observe the practice object with a natural mind, peacefulness will come quickly. Let me show you, peaceful, done. It happens in a flash if you really know the object with a natural mind. This is the trick for practicing calmness. It is not normally taught, because it is difficult. Most will tell you to go practice by yourself, by reciting Buddha, by breathing, or by seeing belly expanding and contracting. If you practice with craving and restlessness, you miss the principle and the technique. So, I am teaching you the technique to achieve concentration and peacefulness quickly. At first, ignore peacefulness and keep practicing. When you are more skillful, you will know how. You already know the proper practice object. You will also know that you must use a natural mind to know the practice object. When you observe the practice object, you will know to ignore peacefulness or diffusion. Observe the object comfortably. With these techniques, practicing samadhi will be easier and easier. When you are skillful, you can quickly bring the mind to peacefulness. The mind will become peaceful, upright, and luminous. However, cultivating an upright mind requires additional practice. You must train in recognizing when the mind that is not upright. This recognition helps the mind become upright. Let's focus on peacefulness first, as I talk about uprightness every day. When you practice and notice the mind wandering from its home base, simply know that it has wandered. This awareness makes the mind upright. Then keep observing your meditation object naturally, without forcing. Over time, the mind will become both peaceful and upright. An upright mind arises from knowing when the mind is not upright, when it strays or drifts. Keep practicing by observing your meditation object and recognizing when the mind wanders. By continuing this practice, you will develop both peacefulness and an upright mind. The mind that is blissful and peaceful from samadhi is more joyful than the mind that enjoys sensual pleasures like listening to music, watching movies, or eating delicious things. Those pleasures are called sensual pleasures. Joy from visions, sounds, smells, tastes, and touches are enjoyable, but it is worldly, temporary, and unstable. But the joy from samadhi, especially if you have skillfulness in attaining deep samadhi, is a refuge for mental and physical tiredness, stress, or life problems. If life's problems overwhelm you, practice peacefulness, and the mind will have a refuge, a private sanctuary that you have built. When the world is chaotic, troublesome, irritating, unhappy, unpeaceful, you enter your own refuge. You observe your practice object that you are skillful at. Observing it brings happiness and does not induce unwholesomeness. Know that object with a natural mind, not a craving one. Let it be. Keep knowing the practice object. At first, it may take a long time before peacefulness arises, but when the mind gets more skillful and it thinks about practicing peacefulness, peacefulness arises quickly. If you can do so, you have skillfulness in attaining samadhi. There are many aspects of skillfulness. One is to enter samadhi. The second is to remain in it. The next is to develop wisdom while in samadhi. And the last is to leave samadhi. You may not think leaving samadhi is not important, as the mind will eventually leave samadhi anyway. This is like a pilot thinking that taking off is difficult. But getting back to the ground, whether by running out of fuel, having an engine failure, or crashing, is a sure thing. Some say entering samadhi is hard, but leaving it is a sure thing. But practicing leaving samadhi lets you have a gentle instead of a crash landing, so practicing is needed. When the mind has entered samadhi and you leave samadhi unskillfully, by pulling the mind right out, a headache can result. You can get sick from this headache. So, when you are in samadhi, do not pull the mind out. No matter how many hours you are in peacefulness, let the mind stay there. When the time comes, the mind will slowly leave samadhi, but sometimes there are urgent matters. A master may require an emergency attendance. Or if you are at home practicing in the shrine room and your wife calls you, this is an even bigger emergency than the master's call. Disregarding her call is a mutiny. So you must leave samadhi. When you leave slowly. The way to leave samadhi is to focus on more coarse objects. Like when you are deep in samadhi, it almost seems like you are not breathing. To leave samadhi, breathe heavier. This is like slowly waking yourself up. This is like when your deep sleep is disturbed. You may get a headache. So, while in deep samadhi, breathe more heavily. Do not force it. Do not open your eyes right away. Slowly withdraw. This requires practice. So, you must attain all four aspects of skillfulness. Entering samadhi quickly. Remaining in samadhi as long as you want. Ability to develop wisdom while in samadhi. And leaving samadhi smoothly. Mastery of all four is true skillfulness. In Buddhism, besides the Buddha, the one who was the most skillful in entering and leaving samadhi was Pramoggallana. He had enormous supernatural powers. He could enter samadhi. Leave it to wish for the use of mental power and enter samadhi to use the power all in a flash. He could do loops of this repeatedly. With each cycle resulting in a supernatural mental power, quicker than a lightning. Have you ever chanted Jayamangala Gatha, the 8 victories of the Buddha? There is a verse there about a giant snake challenging the Buddha's disciples. The great serpent would open its mouth, challenging a disciple to sit inside and leave before it could bite. Is a snake bite quick? It is. The great serpent challenged that a disciple should enter its mouth, enter samadhi, leave samadhi, and leave its mouth before it could bite. Pramoggallana was the only one that the Buddha allowed to accept the great serpent's challenge. The Buddha knew that this great serpent had great powers, but Pramoggallana's mental powers were stronger. Pramoggallana said that even 100 of this type of great serpents were still no match for him. But for us, a regular snake can easily harm us. We cannot fight it. This is about samadhi. One aspect I have not yet talked about is developing wisdom while in samadhi. We have not studied this much, as most people do not have sufficient samadhi. This wisdom development is for people who are skillful in deep absorption. Let the mind enter absorption, and use jhanas factors as objects for practice. Know the changes in jhanas factors. Like, seeing the mind has joy. See joy rises, stays and decays. After joy ceases, happiness becomes dominant. See happiness rises, stays and decays. After happiness ceases, one-pointedness or equanimity arises. See jhana factors rise and fall as you enter different levels of absorptions. Another way to develop wisdom in samadhi is to enter samadhi and attain some rest. Once the mind is rested and full of strength, leave jhana and stay at near jhana level. Maintain this level of samadhi and see phenomena arise and cease internally. Several phenomena will rise and fall. This is wisdom development in samadhi. In full absorption, observe the jhana factors, but in near absorption, observe phenomena that the mind fabricates rise and fall. You can practice this way, but if you cannot attain a high level of samadhi, just practice outside them. If you cannot enter jhana, practice momentary concentration. Use the principle I mentioned earlier. Pick an object that the mind is happy to know. and does not induce unwholesomeness. Know that object comfortably while knowing the mind's actions, like observing breathing and seeing the mind wander off to think about something else, forgetting to recite Buddha. Once you know that the mind has wandered off, a bright mind will rise momentarily, and it will soon wander off. Keep knowing so. And eventually wisdom will rise while using momentary concentration. If you are skillful in samadhi, you are skillful to enter, maintain, and develop wisdom there. You must also be able to leave samadhi smoothly. Leaving too quickly causes a headache. If you can practice this way, the mind will have a lot of happiness. It is a different kind of happiness. It is happiness that arises from wisdom, like when you practice, and the mind attains some right view or understanding. Happiness will also arise together with wisdom. When you go to a funeral ceremony to hear the monks chant, you do not know whether the monks know the meaning of the chant, but you surely do not. Sometimes you listen comfortably and fall half asleep. When you wake up, open your eyes and look at the coffin and realize that, oh, your dad or mom has just passed away. You see that life is so impermanent. Seeing this can rejuvenate the mind and induce happiness. Or, when someone dear to you is dying, instead of crying and suffering, you practice. When they pass, you see happiness arise. As the mind gains happiness from wisdom, it sees that everyone who was born will die. The mind can become happy. This is my personal experience. When my father was about to die, I was sitting close by. This was before I became a monk. When he was dying, I was observing. It was full of suffering. Once death occurred, happiness arose. Not because I would inherit something, as he did not have much, but the mind was blissful because it saw some Dharma. Life is impermanent. He just had his last breath. No one knows when their death will come. He did not know when his last breath would be that morning. The mind saw some truth, and bliss arose instead of sorrow. So, when wisdom arises, happiness also arises. The mind that has wisdom can have two kinds of feelings: happiness or equanimity. There is another type of happiness, which happens at the moment of enlightenment. That is the moment the mind permanently eradicates some impurities. Right then, the mind will be either happy or equanimous. Right after the moment of enlightenment comes the moment of realizing fruition of enlightenment. The mind in noble fruition can be happy or equanimous. Equanimity is a finer bliss than regular happiness, as happiness still can be stimulating. Equanimity is more delicate and peaceful. This is happiness from practice. If you keep practicing, the world is less appealing. When the world is less appealing, your mind does not want to interact with it much. Once, a monk who had stayed with me for a long time had a business at home. His relative just passed. He then went home as a courtesy. When the monk got home, instead of finding the happiness at home he expected, he wanted to return to the temple immediately. He felt the world was full of chaos, and he no longer belonged. The feeling of not belonging and being ill-suited was strong. Before I became a monk, I dislike going to shopping malls, especially the ones full of teenagers. Those places made my head spin. I felt out of place. The place for me must have been more peaceful. Being solitary was the most comfortable. When the mind is used to peacefulness, it will loosen its grip from the world. It will see the world as not desirable or special. The world is full of chaos, suffering, and has no real essence. Like, you see your friends socializing and drinking, and that is what you used to like to do. After a long practice, you see that their drinking party has no substance. Sometimes it seems like a bunch of corpses drinking. The mind knows that these people will soon pass, but they are still deluded by the world. They ignore the fact that they do not know when they will die. Some may die soon, and some may die later, but they all are in delusions. They are never aware of their eventual but certain death. They may think they will live for a long time, but they may not. When we practice, we will see the world as uninteresting, undesirable, and filthy. The mind will loosen its worldly attachments. The loosening will strengthen your resolve to practice. When you need to be in contact with the world, mindfulness and stability will intensify, like when you are approaching a group of poisonous snakes. After practicing for a while, you will know that this world is like a poisonous snake. Visions and sounds are like poisonous snakes. They can corrupt the mind. When you practice and need to interact with the world, you will feel as if you are surrounded by poisonous snakes. They can bite at any time. The mind becomes alert, mindful, and concentrated, constantly on guard. Sense restraint arises, and our natural moral discipline emerges. Our mind automatically becomes upright. The mind will be composed and focused. After some practice, you will see the results. It is hard to be in the world. It is on fire. It has no essence. You only live in it as necessary. You live in it as if you are surrounded by poisonous snakes. The world is full of suffering. If you are careless and cling to it just a little bit, you will suffer. Seeing this, the mind will be more inclined to practice. At first, you must persevere and persuade yourself to practice. But after a while, no persuasion is necessary. The mind will be weary of the outside world and will want to practice. Then, the progress from practice will be more swift. Your practice will get better faster. This applies to both lay people and monks who are determined. Before I became a monk, I visited a master and told him about my practice. After submitting my homework and leaving the master, his attendant monk asked how I could get results from practice quickly. Even with 10 to 20 years of practice, many monks could not achieve what I did in a year. Many monks could not achieve what I did in a year. I told him honestly that I practiced all day long. This was so because I saw the world as a poisonous snake. I still needed to live in it. So I had to be vigilant with mindfulness. The mind would make quick progress with this mindset. Why do you not achieve results from practice? Because you like to get involved in unnecessary worldly things. If it is necessary, then it cannot be helped. But if it is not, do not get involved. If you cannot find friends who have better or equal qualities, it is best to be solitary. These are not my words. These are the Buddha's. Be alone and have practice as your soulmate. Before I became a monk, I had breathing as my friend and never got lonely. I was a little lonely during my teenage years because I still could not practice well. Since I had gotten better at practicing, I never felt lonely or bored. I could be happy and peaceful regardless of the environment. The mind was peaceful and blissful. The greatest happiness is peacefulness. But there are many levels of peacefulness. Peacefulness from mindfulness, from concentration, from wisdom, from the noble path and its fruition, and from Nibbana. The ultimate peacefulness is from Nibbana. I will not go into further details. There is no more time. This is it for today. Find happiness and peacefulness for your life. Do not squirm like a dog that got splashed by boiling water, or a worm that touches hot ashes. Kids these days do not know the expression, a worm that touches hot ashes, as worms are hard to find. Ashes are also hard to find, as we all use gas stoves. In the old days, people used charcoal and dry wood. They produced ashes. If a worm got into contact with ashes, it squirmed restlessly from the torturous pain. Your mind is also like that. It is burnt by the impurities. You can visualize this pain by visualizing a dog that gets splashed by boiling water, or a dog that gets hit by a car. So, practice until you get to taste some bliss and peacefulness. Once you have tasted it, the mind will be diligent with practice, and its grip on the world will loosen. This is so because the mind knows that the Buddha's way is the way of peace and great happiness. Now submit your homework. Number 1.
Number 1. I practice every day. I chant in the early morning, then an hour of walking meditation. I need to have a brain tumor surgery next month. I live carefully and focus on practice without laziness. I see the mind that manipulates things and constantly thinks. I can be mindful of these phenomena now and then. Please advise so I can practice better.
When your life is at stake, you will be determined to practice. When all is well, mindless joy can thrive. But when your life is in danger, the mind will be strong and determined. People who have an upcoming brain surgery or cancer and are unsure of survivability will react differently. For people who have never practiced, they will be burning with unhappiness, running around making offerings to gods and goddesses for help. Their lives will be hectic and tumultuous, and their deaths will be without peace. But for someone who practices, like number 1, when life is in danger, like having to have a brain surgery, the mind will be vigorous and diligent in practice. Your mindfulness and stability is good. What you are practicing is exactly correct. Keep observing. When the doctors take you to the OR and put you to sleep, you will not feel any pain. You can continue observing your body until you lose consciousness from anesthesia. After that, it is all in the doctor's hands. When you regain consciousness and feel pain, you continue to observe your body and continue to separate the aggregates. See that body is one, pain is another, and the mind is the observer of the first 2 objects. See that worrying and unhappiness are yet other objects. Patiently separate them and observe them. You can do it. Your study of Dharma is fruitful. When life is at stake, Dharma is your refuge. Number 1. Your mind is good. If you did not have a sickness, your mind might not have been as good. It might still be enjoying mindless activities. Number 2.
Number 2. I practice in daily life and I chant before bedtime. I know that my mind wanders off a lot and is impartial. I still interfere with it a lot. I am addicted to samadhi. I want to be good. my anger is strong, and my samadhi is insufficient. I see phenomena rising more than seeing them ceasing. My mind is quick, it suffers a lot and is very bruised. I feel that I am controlling and suppressing it. When the diffusion is strong, I try to be mindful by observing breathing and silently chanting repeatedly. How should I improve?
Do not be greedy. Like I said earlier, when the mind is diffused, stay with your practice object comfortably. Disregard peacefulness and strength. If the mind is comfortable, it will be peaceful. If the mind dislikes the occurring phenomena, it will be restless, unhappy, and unpeaceful. The mind is too diffused. So, do not worry about wisdom development now. Let the mind rest with one practice object occasionally. The mind will gain strength and can resume wisdom development. It is not difficult. Number 2. Your mind likes to cultivate wisdom. Do more formal practice, like silently reciting do while breathing. Keep breathing, and if the mind wants to be peaceful, know so. If it is diffused, know so. If it is peaceful, know so. Know the craving for peacefulness when the mind is diffused. Know comfortably. Do not modify or interfere. So, the mind will get some rest. Once the mind is rested, it will be peaceful and vigorous. So, do not be greedy while practicing. Greed will not lead to peacefulness or rest. Number 3.
Number 3. I formally practice walking meditation for 30 minutes a day. In my daily life, I observe the body and the mind. I see my mind diffused and wander off. When I see something I like, the mind grabs it and tries to keep it. Many times, the mind flows into some dark, moody stillness. When selfish thoughts arise, the mind feels confined. I then see the mind's cruelty and weakness. I now see the benefits of practice more. Please advise.
It is good that you get to know yourself. All of us are a lot more cruel than we first thought. Practice observing it. Your mind is not impartial. It is tainted by aversion when you practice. Know so. If the mind dislikes it and wants peacefulness, know so. Observe comfortably, without making the mind still. You are controlling the mind now. Can you see? Do not control it. Know naturally. If practicing makes the mind dark and blurry, stop. Observe the body as the home base. If you are doing a sitting meditation and the mind is blurry and you cannot see phenomena, start observing the body and stop observing the mind. Observing the body results in more strength, so you can go back to observe the mind. Many masters taught that we observe the body to see the mind. We observe the mind to see Dharma. So, if sitting meditation results in dimness and dullness, leave that practice, observe the body, make body movements and do some housework, sweep the floor. There is no need to limit your practice to formal walking meditation. Walking meditation will not get cleaning done, but sweeping the floor does. Number 4.
Number 4. I formally practice by observing the body breathing as the practice object. When the mind wanders off, or it is immersed in anger or greed, I know so. In my daily life, I try to observe the mind and the body as much as I can. I start seeing that the mind and the body are full of suffering, and I am dreadful of this suffering. Everything eventually will be nothingness. I am afraid that self does not actually exist, but I have a lot more shame of evil actions, fear of results from evil actions, and kindness towards others. Please kindly advise.
You are practicing correctly. Do no rush. Practice every day. It will eventually develop. You have already developed some. You see that unwholesomeness has reduced. Unwholesomeness has increased. When you are about to act unwholesomely, Shame and fear of evil actions arise. This is one result of mental development. You are practicing well. Keep it up. Practice regularly. Number 4. Your practice is good because you do not crush or squeeze the mind. Keep observing comfortably like you currently do. Number 1 still likes to crush and squeeze your mind. Number 3 likes to force the mind to be still. It is uncomfortable. Do not do it. Let the mind work and be mindful. Number 3. Can you see that you are controlling? The mind is tight and tense. If you practice correctly and are mindful, it will not be tense. There will only be peace. So, when the mind craves goodness, it will be controlling. Know so. Knowing that controlling has started. If you become mindful quicker, you will know that the mind wants to be good. If you know that the mind wants to be good, there is no need for control, and there will be no tension. Number 4. Your mind has wandered off. Know so. Number 5.
Number 5. I formally practice by chanting, paying respect to the Buddha, doing sitting meditation, and observing the belly expanding and contracting. I know when the mind has wandered off. I practice formally in the morning and in the evening for an hour each time. In daily life, I silently recite Buddha and observe my body as the practice object. I still feel my mind gets lost often. Sometimes the mind gets lost for a long time, and sometimes not. I still cannot see the mind clearly. I feel that my mind is usually still and is without much contact. I am not sure whether I can see the observing mind. Please advise.
You can. When you saw the body moving, that was when the mind was a knower. For number 5, use the body as your home base for your practice. Do not worry about the mind. Do not worry whether observing the body will lead to attaining wisdom or stability. Keep observing the body. Use this one object. Practice as if the body is your last resort. Your practice will get better. Now, smile sweetly. Can you see the body smiling? Now, nod. Can you see the body nodding? You must know the body nodding with a natural mind. Having a tense mind like this will not work. The mind must be natural. Number 5. Keep observing the body. You can practice well with this object. Number 6.
Number 6. I formally practice by walking and sitting meditation and observing the body. I see the mind that wanders off. During daily life, I notice that the mind wanders off more often and the length between two wanderings has shortened. I see the mind changing quickly and not in my control. I see aversion and the mind that is struggling more frequently. Unsatisfactory feelings follow. I lightly hold my mind because I crave wholesomeness. I see compositions arising automatically. I see my ego and hubris and the crave for self-existence as their driving force. Please identify my flaws.
You practice well. Keep practicing, and you will see your own flaws. This will get better. What you are doing is correct. The duration between each mindlessness is shorter. The mind is less involved with the objects. When the mind is meddling with objects, you can see the meddling better. You have developed. Keep practicing regularly. Number 7.
Number 7. I am 74 and have studied at many temples. After reading your book, Tang Ek, and listening to your teachings, I know that I need to fix my over-focusing, mind wandering off, diffusion, getting stuck in stillness and getting tainted by delusions. I can no longer do a long walking meditation, but I formally practice every day for 30 minutes in the morning. During the day, I try to observe the body, standing, walking, sitting, lying down, eating, and drinking. I do my housework with mindfulness. Is my mind strong and upright enough to separate the aggregates and develop wisdom?
Your mind is upright and the aggregates are separated. So, you can develop wisdom. Can you see the body sitting and moving? Can you see that the body is not self, nor is it yours? Keep observing that the body is not self nor yours. This leads to wisdom development. You have attained some samadhi. Your mind is upright. You can tell, right? The kind of samadhi that I teach differs from what you have practiced earlier. All of that was wrong samadhi. Now you have attained the right samadhi. The mind has become upright. Observe the body working. You are a bit older than me. I am 70. Old age prevents people from doing walking meditation all day long. It is too tiring. So, you can observe the body breathing and sitting. Do not just sit still. Keep moving or wiggling. See the body as something being observed and is not self nor yours. Keep observing. See the worthlessness of the body. With stability, observe the body and develop wisdom using the body until you see its worthlessness. Number 8.
Number 8. I formally practice by doing sitting meditation in the morning for 30 to 60 minutes, but I find my mind not upright and diffused. Sometimes I fall asleep or half asleep. I do walking meditation for 30 minutes in the evening. I observe the body and the breathing. I see the mind thinking. I see the mind struggling when the body itches. I think I sometimes see the body and mind as the three characteristics of existence already. During daily life, mindfulness knowing the body and mind arises more often, but sometimes I get mindless for a long time. I see a lot of impurities, anger, ego, self-superiority, and looking down on others. Am I practicing correctly?
Yes, you are. The mind can see many phenomena, but stability is not quite sufficient. Practice what I lectured today to strengthen samadhi, so the mind has more strength. You lack just a little bit of it. Once the mind has samadhi, wisdom development will be brisk. If you use the mind without sufficient stability to observe phenomena, it is not wisdom development, but you may think it is. It is diffusion. Diffusion and wisdom development are almost similar. For both cases, the mind works. For diffusion, the mind lacks mindfulness. Because of insufficient stability, if you have mindfulness and samadhi seeing diffusion, wisdom will arise. Right now, your mind lacks samadhi. It is a bit diffused. Do not hurry to develop wisdom. Set aside some time to do formal practices. Use a practice object suitable for you. And keep knowing the mind that wanders off or gets absorbed into fixating on the object. Keep observing and good samadhi will arise. Once you have enough samadhi, mindfulness will see the working of the mind. Wisdom will then arise and detachment can happen. If you do not have sufficient samadhi, wisdom will not arise, even after months or years. The mind will not be enlightened. Stability is the immediate course for wisdom. Wisdom is composed of right samadhi. Number 7 is very good. Number 7 has the right samadhi. You turned around from practicing the wrong samadhi to the right one. With right samadhi, the mind is knowing, awake, and blissful. The mind is an observer. What does it see? It sees the body working. It sees physical feelings rising in the body. It sees both wholesome and unwholesome mental compositions. It stays as a knower, as long as you have sufficient samadhi. Without enough samadhi, the mind becomes diffused when it sees phenomena. Number 8. Practice samadhi a bit more. Number 6. Do not be discouraged. When I say so, can you eliminate discouragement? You cannot. If the mind is discouraged, know so. See that discouragement is not the mind. It is something that the mind knows. Number 4. Do not keep thinking. Do not abandon your practice object. This is it for today. It is time to go.